YouTube too. I usually sign up on Facebook first, just in case I have any problems. I can back out and come back. So, okay, all right. Well, Mike sounds nice. Check one. I take it y'all can hear me. Whew, bravo, getting hot up in here. Okay, okay. What's up, people? How y'all doing? Man, earlier this week I sent out a little wellness post, and I did so because it looked like the more people I talk to, the more stressed everybody is. I guess we were all under the misnomer, misinformed, thinking that once this election was over, we would have a breather, but thus is not the case. So I know you guys are kind of stressed out. So if you're feeling okay, just thumbs up me. No matter where you are, just say hello, hello. Yeah, I see a couple people here, a couple people there. Here, there, where, everywhere. Okay. Um, Folks, it's crazy. That's all I could say. It's crazy. You know. In the meantime, I kind of feel like I need some music or something just to mellow me out. It's been a crazy week, folks. It's been a crazy weeks. Um, we had the dubious distinction of having over a half of a million, 500,000 plus. And just before press time tonight, I think the count was over 507,000 Americans have died as a result of COVID 19. So that's kind of where we are tonight. It's crazy. And they're talking about more vaccines and the thus forth and so on. I'm saying, I'm kind of with whatever can get these numbers down. It's just getting crazy out there, people. So, how's everybody doing? I know you guys are okay, but just give me a thumbs up. Let me know you're okay. Say hello, I know what it's like. I know what it's like. Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? Hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. I started to broadcast in two places on Facebook tonight, but I was afraid that it might do something crazy. I got some additional cameras, so I was trying out some equipment before I go to other platforms. So just doing this, that, and the other. Um, Want to perfect this thing before I take it on the road and make it universal. So I'm looking at some other platforms, people. As much as I had planned on doing a show on something different, um, but things are just so crazy now. It just seems like there needs to be a voice here to say some of the things that the politically correct news stations are not saying, and so I try to do that. How's everybody doing? I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I think we're a little behind, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Um, Good evening and welcome to the show. Thank you, as always, for spending your Thursday night with me. Before I get started, like I said, I want to take a moment and recognize the people who died in Texas as a result of this freeze. Um, let's just hope, wish, and pray that everybody gets their electricity and their water back sooner than soon. And the 507 plus thousand people who died of COVID. Yesterday, we had another dubious day. We had over 3,200 people died yesterday, and that's the highest number that it's been in a little bit. So we're still trending downward. Hospital stays are down in the 50 to 57%, depending on where you are in the country. Um, everything is going down, but we're still getting high numbers of infections. And I guess you guys heard that this thing is starting to mutate. We've got one strand that's in New York, and then looks like we might have another strand that's in LA. I don't know. So anyway, far as the thing is in Texas, I talked to a former classmate who's from New Orleans, who was in New Orleans for Katrina, and she described the conditions in Texas to that of Katrina. She said it felt like she was living Katrina again, with being abandoned and government not stepping in, and um, Greg Abbott saying that Texans needed to learn how to fend for themselves and stop depending on government. In addition to that, per my Creole predictions, Despicable Donnie is continuing to be despicable, but we knew that when he was not convicted. My show is called I Got Something to Say, so it must be true. My name is Hank Batiste, alias the Renaissance Man, aka Rennie for short. I'm going to be your host tonight, and the voices in my head are truly pissed off beyond belief. Why am I pissed, you ask? Because we worked our butts off collectively to get Dems elected so that they would have the majority. We were hoping that they would come together and unite to get us our country back. Instead, we seeing the Dems acting like they need the TOP. I call it the TOPQ OP. TOP, Trump's old party now. Um, like they need their approval to govern and make decisions. I understand Joe is trying to make a point that he's going to be everybody's president, but at this stage of the game, you got to send some people to bed without send them to bed without their dinner. So to me, it's just total bullshit. You got a majority. Do what we need you to do. Govern, and then we'll deal with the fallout a little bit later. And I know it sounds like some of the things that they did in the past, and you're absolutely right. Sometimes you to put out a fire you can't use water, and this is one of those fires that you can't play nice to put it out. You have to be stern, because you've really got about 2 years to get things going. Now we're starting to see one of my other predictions. We're starting to see some of the rumbles within the Democratic Party, and I talked about that a little bit. I said that in the first 6 months, 6 to 8 months, Joe was going to have some upheaval, and he would probably have to make some appearances up on the hill to try to get people marching to the beat of one drum. So we're starting to see that as well. For whatever reason, we've got Elizabeth Warren who's still trying to make noise. What gets me about Becky Warren, she's called Becky in high school, believe it or not, um, is this woman's from Oklahoma. She represents Massachusetts, and she couldn't even win one of the two states that's most familiar with her. So, what does that tell you about Warren? It tells you that, people are onto her, and she'll say anything, do anything for herself. So, I call her, she's somewhat of a closet Republican in that she puts her personal ambitions above anything else. And the voters know it as well. That's why she couldn't win either of those two states. Um, it's crazy. In the state of Massachusetts, that she's representing as a senator, she came in third in the presidential election. So what does that tell you? So now I hear screaming and hollering about this, that, and the other, mainly the $15. So I'll talk about that a little later. But I just have to go off without on that. Um, we said time and time and time again that the impeachment trial was a huge waste of resources. Now we see career politicians placing their ambitions like Becky and other TOP, Trump's own party, they're placing their ambitions against over what's best for America. To get reelected, they're willing to double down on the most despicable lie in the history of this country, and definitely in the history of elections. Democrats, you need to unite and mount campaign in every state where a Trump Republican is willing to embrace a lie for the mere point of getting reelected. If we did it in Georgia, no matter how red the state is, I think they need to do that. So now we're talking about State of the Union or not. We've seen a we've seen some stuff, some blowback. We see what's going on Capitol Hill. We see what's going on as far as the troops, the National Guardsmen out there. We still see fences and barbed wire, and it's crazy. It's starting to look like a world um, parliament or something. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the State of the Union. We're going to talk about the Democratic majority and their being too apologetic to govern and lead. And lastly, I'm going to piss some people off because I'm going to talk a little bit about the minimum wage debate. Tonight's show is called Power. It's about the principles over personal ambitions and the historical ramifications of $15 per hour. Folks, I got something to say. As you can tell, I'm a little pissed. So let's omit the logic and do this. First things first. For the last few days, during these so-called hearings on what happened on January the 6th, I hear these Republicans, these TOP, these Trump-owned party Republicans doubling down on this lie again. They one lie after another, after another, after another. They're insisting that the troublemakers were not Trumpsters, Trumpies, trumpets. Are you kidding me? I couldn't even fix my mouth to say, get the fuck out of here. You have the audacity. Person after person after person was on camera saying that they belong to this organization that's a Trump organization and saying that they're there because they were invited by the president and they're supporting him to stop the steal. And now you have the audacity to look America in its face, its collective face, and say that they were not Trump supporters, they were not Trumpsters, they were not Trumpies, they were not trumpets. It's bullshit, man. I said it before. One thing I agree with, they're insisting that this was not an insurgence. I can't remember the idiot's name, and I honestly I didn't write it down because I didn't want to give him oxygen on my show. But he was saying that what he saw was not an insurgence. That we agree on. It was not an insurgence. It was a coup attempt, a failed coup d'etat. Because had those people got their hands on Mike Pence, on Nancy Pelosi, on the president of the Senate, people, those are the people that are in direct succession. So Pence would be second, Pelosi would be third, President pro temp of the Senate would be fourth. Had they got their hands on one or two of those people, Trump would have instilled martial law and still been in power. So you're right. It was not an insurgence. Stop calling it an insurgence. It was a goddamn coup d'etat. It failed because there were some brave people on the other side. But stop calling the insurgents, please. I implore you. Whether you're CNN, whether you're MSNBC, Fox don't even talk about it anymore. As far as they're concerned, they've moved on. Everything is about Rush Limbaugh. But I predicted that Donnie would continue to be his despicable self. I thought that somehow Moscow Mish would be able to take control of his Republican Party and push Donnie into the rearview mirror. If Dems had any courage, they would identify every Trump publican and mount a focused campaign based on politicians who will do anything to stay elected. Anything. So, Dems, let's get your act together. Every day you're in my email talking about a couple dollars, just give this. Let's mount some elections in every one of these red states. We turn Georgia purple. We almost flipped Texas. Now we have an opportunity to flip Texas. I hate to be quote unquote a politician. Politicians say that natural disasters are an opportunity to make a change. This time I agree. What happened in Texas is a golden opportunity to flip that state, to get Abbott and Cruz out of there, to make a showing because we came close back in November. We need focused campaigns mounted against these Trump publicans who will do anything, say anything just to get elected. I let me calm down. I submit to you that his backing, as loud and boisterous as they are, is not the majorities that he thinks they are. He does not have the majority that he thinks he has. So if we have mounted campaigns to overthrow and remove these people, we can move faster about getting our country back. Remember, we got 2 years. We got 2 years. Now is the time to start planning for 2022. What the 2020 election demonstrated that even in the reddish community, there are people who put what's right above carrying the company water and partisan politics and the bullshit. We must collectively target those people. Those are the people, whether they're, and this is what I said about Biden. If Biden can lead right now, he's going to sway more of those people. So he needs to stick to his guns. I know right now it looks like he's doing everything unilaterally, but it's necessary because his party is wavering at times. So if it takes this and they start to see that the American people is behind him, they're going to start supporting more and more and more of his policies, of his agenda, so forth and so on. So all of these so-called other people, these distractors, whether they call themselves Republicans, Trump publicans, progressives, this, that, and the other, we need to be of one accord. And right now, we're trying to get this country back on track, plain and simple. Everything else has to kind of take a backseat. That's where I am. When I think about this, when I think about how misguided some of these people are, I use this analogy. First of all, Officer Brian Sicknick, may you rest in peace. But the biggest misnomer, the biggest disrespect that was done to this man was in so many places they chose to support the lie over honoring this man who died in the line of duty. These are the same people that say blue lives matter, but we see how far that shit goes. Today, I'm driving around on my way back from physical therapy. Now, remember, we said that we were going to, and when I said we're talking about Congress, we're talking about the president, we're talking about 90% of the country, I believe, wanted to honor this man by having flags flown at half mast. And so many places refused to do so because by doing so, they would not be supporting the despicable one. Today, I'm driving back from physical therapy and I see the most egregious thing. Now flags are flying at half mast. Why? Because the despicable one and Fox said flags should be at half mast for racist ass Limbaugh. Let me think about that for a minute. Let me let that marinate in your head for a minute. They were not talking about people freezing to death. They didn't even talk about the fact that Ted Cruz abandoned his state. All they have been talking about is a virtual this, that, and the other for Limbaugh. Racist ass Limbaugh. I don't believe in speaking ill of the dead, but call a spade, even if it's a white spade. Um, I make a joke about it, but these people are freezing, and he goes to Cancun, and all Fox talked about was Limbaugh. And then I drive around today, and I noticed, and I asked one guy, and he says, "Yeah, we're doing this for Rush." And I just shook my head. You buy shit anyway. I just wanted to confirm what I was believing, what I suspected to be true. I told you that Andrew Cuomo was grandstanding and covertly auditioning for president. The only bipartisan prosecution talk that I hear coming around now is about impeaching Cuomo. Meanwhile, South Dakota Attorney General Jason Ravensburg killed the man, hit a pedestrian whose head came through the windshield, and his glasses were deposited in his car. And he lied and said he hit a deer. The only way they busted him is they found this man's glasses. So you hit a pedestrian, kill him, leave the scene of the crime, and then the next day you report it as hitting a deer. And you're the state attorney general, and they're asking him to resign. You're right. Yes, he's a Republican, a Trump publican. So now, so now, the criminal injustice system is stepping in, and he will be charged with three, wait for it, misdemeanors. Because they say they can't prove intent with him killing him. Negligent homicide, he's going to be charged. One of these charges is operating the cell phone while driving. If that's not criminal negligence, I don't know what is. So go figure. Meanwhile, they want Cuomo's head on the pike. Meanwhile, I don't know if all of Texas have their power back. One thing I know for sure, a lot of places in Texas still does not have clean drinking water. Now, years ago, I talked about moving to Costa Rica and Belize and places like this. And one of the things that slowed me down is in a lot of places like that, these third world countries, water is privatized. And I said, wow, the next war is going to be over drinkable water in some of these countries. So go figure. In Texas, we got another Flint, Michigan in America, and nobody's talking about it. It's been 50 days now, folks. January the 6th, 2021. It's been 50 days, and we will never find out. We will never get true justice for this failed coup attempt. What incenses me most is the Dems are still trying to play fair and expect the Trump owned party, the TOP, to convict itself. You can't expect these people to police themselves. Pelosi had it right when she wanted to appoint a 7-5 panel with the Dems being in the majority. I need you. No, 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 no. America needs you to man up and stop playing nice with the same people who says you stole the elections. My feelings are simple. You support the lie, you're placing a liar before the country, and you forfeit your duties. So you don't get a vote. You don't have a voice. If the first word that comes out your mouth is a lie, you forfeit the right to say anything else. So let's get to the bottom of this. We all know what would happen if the TOP was in the majority. They would appoint a panel with probably 60 to 70% Republicans, and then they would double down on how they were doing America a favor for doing so. Let's get real. These are the same people who never apologize. They never bargain in good faith. These are the very same people who have proven time and time and time again that power is their focus by any means necessary. So let me educate you on a couple facts. First, they say it wasn't the Trump supporters. Then they say Trump had nothing to do with inciting the rioters. I say Trump had everything to do with this failed coup. Then they said that they know he lost, but now they have to support him because this is the only way that they could get back in power. So now they're saying they think he was cheated. There were still some irregularities. After 60-something failed court cases, let me move on. There are approximately 3,000 or more National Guardsmen guarding the U.S. Capitol from Americans because Congress still feels that there's an imminent threat. Let me shake you. The State of the Union address has been postponed because they're not sure who the conspirators are in Congress. What kind of bullshit is that? Share with me. Fuck out of here with that bullshit. Let's move on. Meanwhile, the coup d'etat continues. In Florida, this week is a so-called CPAC. CPAC stands for Conservative Political Action Committee. They're meeting in Orlando, and the despicable one will be in attendance, launching possibly his campaign for 2024, but certainly raising more money. The federal government has punted and is waiting on the state government to do what they cannot do. So New York is mounting campaigns for several different crimes, criminal prosecution. Georgia supposedly is mounting a campaign for election interference. Let's see who does what Congress wouldn't do or can't do. We know why they can't do it, because so many of them are co-conspirators. If it happens in Congress, some of these people are going to fall by the wayside as well. So go figure. Folks, I know I beat you over the head. I know this was a heavy stick. There's so much I want to talk about. I want to get beyond this nonsense. I want to start talking about this $15. And the $15 minimum wage. First of all, I think, and this is going to sound a little lofty and arrogant, so if I piss you off, so be it. I think it's a sad message that you send to young people that they should aspire to waiting on minimum wage to raise in order for them to better themselves. How about making sure that opportunities exist for them to rise up? The problem, and I said it before, historically, let's look at this. My mom and dad probably made less in their entire lifetime combined than I probably made in 10 years of my career. Why? Because back then, the wages were such that they were at this level. My dad had a really good job and he took care of us. But what he made, and let me just tell you this. I lost my dad at the age of 15. My dad was the first man to do a lot of things that he did, working for public service in the city of New Orleans. The stress alone and the fact that everybody drank and smoked back then is what killed him. I lost my dad at 15. But then, a couple months after my dad passing, I received a $300 a month check from his retirement. Those kind of jobs don't really exist anymore. I was taken care of. I would have forfeited the $300 just to have my dad there, but it is what it is. So I said all of that to say this. My parents instilled in me that my generation should do better than their generation. And I instilled in my children that their generation should surpass the few little accomplishments that I had. So when my daughter calls me and she tells me that she's about to make this much and this, that, and the other, and she wants some advice, I smile. I smile with pride because I never told her, you get a job making minimum wage, and then you wait for the government to award you when they feel like it. We got to stop telling these kids, we got to start making these kids believe that they can be more than minimum wage earners. The problem with $15 an hour, even if they started it now, not in 2025, if they started it now and they progress beyond that, here's what would happen. And here's what's going to piss some people off. We live in a country of greed. When everybody starts making a base of $15 an hour, gas is going to go off from $2.50 or $2.80 or $3, depending on where you live, to about $4 or more. And I'm sure there are some places that it's probably that. So gas is going to go up proportionately. If you're in a place where gas is $4 now, it's probably going to go up to $6. If you're in a place where the gas is $3 now, it's probably going to go up to $4.50. Rents are going to go up from $600 a month to $800 a month. So simply because you give these kids or these people more money doesn't mean that businesses are not going to raise their prices exponentially to capitalize on that more money that you have in your pocket. So the problem with when everybody knows what you have in your pocket, they're scheming, they're finding ways to get every nickel that they can get out of you. When you go to a trade school, And I'm not saying every college is for everybody, but when you do something to better yourself, nobody knows what you make. So you stand more of a chance of exceeding inflation when salaries go up to 15, inflation is going to do here. Inflation isn't going to stay here. So you're still not going to have take home pay. You're still not going to be able to afford the things that you can afford now. Because all of those things, all of those companies, all of those people are going to respond in just. So I don't have a problem with anybody making more money. I'm just saying, stop the small thinking. Teach your children that they can be more than minimum wage earners. I promise you, 90% of the people that follow me on Facebook, I know you guys didn't work for minimum wage. And I would suspect that you didn't teach your children that. So if we start working collectively to make sure that our children are working towards being more than $15 an hour earners, if our children are working towards doing something with themselves where nobody knows what they have in their pocket, no one can predict what they have in their bank account, they stand more of a chance of raising their baskets and outlasting inflation. Folks, if it pisses you off, the truth hurts. I have nothing against anybody making $15 an hour. I have everything against people being so small minded that they're waiting for somebody to make them better. Do something to make yourself better and pass it on to your children. So, as always, important, folks, I should hit you with some Creole powers, but it just ain't in me tonight. Um, let's go on, folks. Let's put some pressure on these Democrats to do what we elected them to do. Let's start writing some letters in those communities where you have these Trump publicans. Let's focus on them. Let's focus on getting them out. If you follow the lie, then you need to follow him down to Mar-a-Lago because you will not have your lying, cheating ass with your blind ambitions in my U.S. Capitol. That's all I got for you tonight, folks. Remember, don't be so afraid to die that you forget to live for a purpose. Remember what I said, you heard it here first. Now go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, and click on that bell. It should let you know when I'm going live on YouTube. My name is Hank Batiste, alias the Renaissance Man, also known as Rennie. I'm your host tonight. I got something to say. I'm a little pissed off, so you know it must be true. As always, important. See you here next week. Same Batiste time, same Batiste place. Supporting, love, peace, like your man. Hair grease. I'm out of here, people. Thank you for tuning in tonight. See you next week. Ah.